Hello class, welcome back to MCU 101. Today's lesson is going to be on Deadpool and Wolverine, a movie that Kevin Feige and the whole Marvel team is looking towards to help save their recent run of waning a disinterest from audiences. Now, it wasn't too long ago in 2019 that the MCU just felt impenetrable after a historic year, a billion-dollar grosser in Captain Marvel, one of the highest grossing movies of all time, and at one point the highest grossing movie of all time in Avengers Endgame. And let's top it off with yet another billion-dollar grosser in Spider-Man Far From Home. And it seems like ever since the clock struck midnight and the 2020s were upon us, things have really changed. From an increase of Disney Plus shows that felt more like homework and honestly who gives a fuck, to a run of middling movies that got increasingly harder to keep up with. I mean, even I'm exhausted just looking at the Wikipedia page. And after their most recent movie, The Marvels, completely bombed last year, we are at a very critical point with the MCU. The next Avengers movies are still on the way, the new Fantastic Four are on the way, but if they want those movies and the whole brand as a whole to go back to the glory days like in 2019, they really need this movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, to be a hit. Well, I saw it and it's okay. It's fun. Man, this movie's a lot. I'm going to say something here that I've seen on Twitter for so long here, okay? Unless you are obligated to, like you have some channel like mine or some site or whatever. Like if the pure thought of a superhero movie like makes your blood boil, or you hear the word cameo and you turn into the Winter Soldier about how angry you are, like genuinely, like don't watch it. You really don't need to watch it. I'm not even saying that in a defensive way. Mental health is important, people, okay? Like, stop. Because if you are one of those people and you do somehow manage to go see this movie, I think you're going to absolutely hate it. Now, let me take a quick step back for a second. I like the first two Deadpool movies. Certainly not as much now as when I did back when I was a verge. No, but when they came out, like, it was refreshing to see a superhero curse. I had never seen that before. I had never seen a superhero break the fourth wall or anything like that. Be self-deprecating. Like, I'm for that. And again, while I recently rewatched them and they certainly don't hold up as well as they did back then, like, I still have like mindless fun with those movies. And aside the jokes and crude humor and everything, they felt very small, very contained. And that's what was part of the appeal about those movies. And now that Disney bought Fox and absorbed the characters, including the X-Men and Deadpool, they now enter the MCU, which as of recent is anything but small and contained. The reason I say this movie is okay is very simple to me. The things I like about Deadpool and Wolverine are the same things I like about the previous Deadpool movies, and the things I don't like about this movie and think that it really struggles with is its ties to the MCU. While they have touted and made sure to go out of their way to say that you don't need to do any homework to see this movie, and that is kind of true, but at the same time, man, I really felt that it was being tied down to the lore of the MCU. There's even a joke that references the specific episode of a Disney show where that character is being referenced from. And while, yes, it is making fun of it and it's a joke, it is still true all the same. Like, yeah, it's from that. If you hadn't seen that, you have no idea what this is. Because no matter how many jokes Deadpool makes about exposition in this movie, like, yeah, it's true. Like, there is a lot of exposition. And now, to its credit, it's kind of going through it pretty fast. This movie isn't very long. It's a little over 2 hours, which I do appreciate. But they are like, yo, let's catch you up right now. Like, what is the TVA? What is happening here? And as someone who has fallen out of Marvel, especially with the shows, but I'm still aware of what things like the TVA are and things like that, even I was like, okay, I actually don't know what's going on, especially in this third act. The third act is fucking crazy. I mean, things are just coming at you like a mile a second. It is so fast. It is so messy and convoluted. I did kind of start to feel the wheels coming off the saddle here, or whatever the fuck, the wagon, whatever, the car, whatever the saying is, it doesn't even matter. I felt it because, and maybe people will disagree with me, I'm not sure. I did like the first half of the movie much more than the second half. And also, I cannot stand. A lot of my hatred is stemming from Twitter. Now that I'm thinking about it, I cannot stand when people argue about color grading from a trailer. I simply won't do it. I don't care if it looks like dog shit. Like, I'm just not really going to participate in it. And I'm not even talking about the color grading necessarily, because the color grading in the movie is better than what it looks like in the trailers, at least to me. But I do wish the visual language was much stronger. Like, I like the action scenes in this movie, okay? I like how they are different. Some are in a vast wasteland, I guess, with no spoilers, with just open fields, and another is a very small, contained action scene, like in a car, right? Like I like the juxtaposition of those. All I'm saying is, director Sean Levy, like you can flex your muscles a little bit, okay? Because one thing I will never say is that a director is showing off. I remember Damien Chazelle's Babylon. One of the criticisms I saw that made me lose my mind was someone said that Damien Chazelle feels like he's showing off with the camera. What the fuck does that even mean? Fucking flex your muscles a little bit. It's okay. Shoot these in a more interesting way. And I'm going to get to the good stuff here, okay? Just give me a second here, okay? There are way too many needle drops in this movie. And I know that's a weird thing to complain about. I love music, okay? I love music. Needle drops really work sometimes. But this was like going down an Apple Music playlist, hashtag Apple Music user. And some scenes are great with those needle drops, okay? I want to be clear. But if I remember correctly, there's a fight scene towards the beginning-ish of the movie that doesn't have a huge song blasting over it. And instead, you heard every bullet, every slice of a sword, every swipe of a claw, and it just felt way more impactful. You can balance it out because there is a ton, some of which I just don't think works at all. Okay, so let me get to what I kind of liked here, okay? Let's talk about the elephant in the room here, all right? The cameos. Easter eggs, cameos, or references, they are part of superhero movies, okay? We need to get that like in our skull, okay? Even The Batman, Matt Reeves' amazing movie, everyone's like, oh, who's that character? Like, yeah, it's the Joker. Oh, cool. And Easter eggs and cameos are not a reason to go see a movie, at least to me. That's not what makes a movie good at all. But having seen so many superhero movies that have cameos for seemingly no reason or is so poorly done or is just to get people in the audience to literally have an orgasm on screen, I do appreciate how Deadpool and Wolverine has these cameos integrated into the story. Because if we are to do cameos, which obviously we're going to do, at least make them exciting. Okay, at least bring back characters or reference heroes that will actually get people excited. And B, as mentioned, it has to make sense within the context of the story. This movie does that. Not only did some genuinely have me fairly shocked, I'll say, because I had no idea what was going on. It makes sense that that character would be here, or this character would choose to do that, or they want to do this. Like, it makes sense. Like, yes, it's writing off nostalgia, clearly. I mean, I feel like almost every cameo is writing off some aspect of nostalgia and references here, but at least it's doing it in a way that is very interesting. Like, this movie has an interesting take on nostalgia and what it can do with that versus, here, let me throw a cameo at your face and, take it. I like that it plays with the idea of rejects and kind of unwanted beings or unclosed endings. Like, I like how they did that. Now, I'll admit, Ryan Reynolds, I am tired of his shtick of playing Deadpool in every movie. But having said that, I do think he absolutely works as Deadpool, okay? It's the perfect casting. But I'm sorry, I was looking forward to this movie for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. And as someone who thinks that Logan is a 5-star certified banger, I was, yes, excited, but also nervous. And he just knows how to play this character, which I know is like so obvious to say, but it's just so obvious, and it's cool to see him back. And seeing him in the suit, like, I do have that inner child in me still, okay? I'm not some cynical little asshole that I'm not this dead person who, I feel like when people get into movies, they're like forced to repress that childlike wonder inside them, especially if you're like a public facing figure. I am totally open that seeing him in a yellow suit, kind of cool. Okay, I'm not going to lie about that. Now, Emma Corrin, who plays the villain Cassandra Nova, they do well with what they're given. I'm going to be honest, this villain is like so whatever to me though, like not fleshed out, not very intimidating. Now, with nearly every comedy, some jokes land, some don't. That's just the nature of how it goes, and I'm okay with that. I was worried that this movie was just going to be like, haha, wow, Disney let us say fuck. Like, oh, wow, Disney let us do this. It's actually not like that, and I am kind of surprised at how far they let them go, especially even mentioning like multiple jokes of the MCU's decline. Kind of shocking. And while it's definitely muddled, especially towards the end, there is still a through line of sincerity with these beings and what they want to do and their purpose. So I do recognize that. Bottom line is, your mileage is going to vary on this one, just depending on how you are. Because even having said all of its flaws, and there are plenty, did I have fun with this movie? Yeah, I did. Did this movie fly by? Yeah, it did. And maybe things like that shouldn't even factor in when trying to figure out if a movie was successful or not. Maybe to you it doesn't, but to me, as I mentioned nearly in every video, like I do take that into account on a movie's success. A flawed, fun movie is what I will choose every time than a competently well-made, boring movie. To me, this is kind of one of those deals where I think this movie is a mess, but a fun one. I can go either way, but I'm going to be nice on this one until I rewatch. Deadpool and Wolverine, 3 stars. Has the summer season been good this year? I don't know, actually. I'm tempted to say no, it hasn't. Whatever. We'll figure it out. We'll be okay.